Today, I'm going to be ranking who I think are the top 5 characters right now in Honkai Star Rail. Now, I know it's always, people are always wondering, oh, which character is better than, this character, or like, what are the best characters that I can, try to go for? And I also think this is important to think about, not only because of, the reruns happening in the future for banners that have already passed, but also for players who are reaching that 300 pulls on the standard banner and are going to be able to pull get a free standard 5-star. And just having that kind of knowledge of like seeing what's the best and what I think is going to be the best moving forward I definitely think it's going to be helpful for a lot of players for sure. So I'm going to go over who I think are my top 5 for this video. I am going to start out with some honorable mentions though, but before all that, if you're enjoying the Honkai Star Rail content from me and want to see more, definitely be sure to hit that like button, comment, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell. So, for honorable mentions, there definitely are some very solid units that aren't in the top 5, and because I feel like there aren't really many characters in this game that just aren't like that good. So realistically, no matter what for the top 5, most of the characters that you're running are probably going to be able to do very well for you. But I wanted to focus on which characters give you the most value on your account, just based on, being easy to use, being easy to build, and just like providing the most benefit to your team outside of, and sometimes even you'll see this for some of the higher options, outside of just what their path is supposed to provide. Now, I have 5 characters in my honorable mentions here. I'm not going to go super in depth with them, but I do think all 5 of them are very strong in what they do. So for honorable mentions, I have Clara, because she kind of acts as a sponge that can do a lot of damage, which is really nice. Then I have Jing Yuan, because Jing Yuan is a very good support character, but compared to some of the other characters I have in the top 5, she just doesn't have as much like extra to her. Although there are teams where she's going to work better than other supports, so by no means does this mean that Jing Yuan is bad. I think Jing Yuan is still very good, but after thinking over my list, I don't think she's in the top 5, but she is very soon after. Then I also have Bailu, which Bailu does have really good healing, has some damage reduction built into her kit as well. But as we'll get to, she is not the best healer in the game, so we'll get to that when we do. Then, well, I also have as an honorable mention just because of his abilities to slow down enemies. Right now, he is the only character that truly focuses on that. There are characters that have some slowdown mechanics in their kit, but nothing at the same level as well. Then lastly, we are putting the newest character in Honkai Star Rail, Blade, as one of my honorable mentions because he does very well. He does a lot of good damage. But, him by himself, he definitely is reliant on other characters to do well, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but compared to the value provided by the people in the top 5, it's just not going to cut it for him to be top 5, but I do think he is one of the best DPSs in the entire game. But with that being said, let's move into the top 5 now. So, at number 5, I put Gepard. Now, Gepard's a character that I haven't really been able to use too much because I don't have him. And, I've only used a couple support Gepards here and there. And, just seeing gameplay of him. But he is, without a doubt, the best tank in the game. And his shielding is a bit unique compared to the Fire Trailblazer and March 7th because his shields come from his ultimate. Which, for one, you could be like, oh, that's not really as, optimal, or that's not really as good because you can't shield every turn. But his shields are ridiculously strong from his ultimate, especially if you have a well-built Gepard. And being able to shield from your ult means you don't have to use skill points to get your shields up. And his energy cost for his ultimate is, on the lower end, it's only 100. So you're going to be able to get these shields up pretty consistently with him, for sure. And I think that Gepard, just with building his defense up, making sure his shields are good, that'll get you through some of the end game content for sure. So I think with his versatility, he's definitely going to be good for a lot of players. So yeah, that's why I have Gepard at number 5 on the list. Now moving on to number 4, we have definitely my most used character. I have Seele at number 4. Now, some of you might be wondering, like, oh my god, Seele is amazing. How is she only number 4? If this was a DPS ranking, she'd be number 1, for sure. Because her damage and just her, versatility and being able to act as both like a single and multi-target damage dealer because of her resurgence ability, that would definitely make her number 1. But because I'm talking about the most value you can add to a team, and really, as you'll see, especially with the top 3, I mainly am talking about like overall value, and not just like, oh, this character supports like specific characters, or this character does well with like specific characters. More so just general account, strength increases. That's where the better characters on this list will end up being. But for Seele, she is very strong, as I've said. She's pretty much gotten me through like most, if not all, of the content of the game that I've done so far. I can currently do the first 5 stages of Memory of Chaos. Haven't been able to get 6 done yet, but I also haven't tried it for the newest stage of enemies that they had for the reset for Forgotten Hall. Yeah, and then Seele, just with her being strong at base is really good, but then she gets even more powerful once you add some really strong supports. Like I said earlier, Ting Yun will be really good. If you have Yukong, who I also think is a very strong character, she'll also be very good with Yukong. Bronya will be really good with her as well. So any of those like harmony supports, and if they release more harmony supports that will boost the character's damage, Seele is just going to be getting better and better. And with her being at the top of all DPSs right now, it's going to take a lot for her to not be the best DPS in the game. For single target, at least. Multi-target is a whole different thing, but I do think overall, because she can do both technically with the Resurgence, I do think that she is still the best DPS in the game. But for this list, she's sitting comfortably at number 4. Then, at number 3, I have Silverwolf. And the biggest reason that Silverwolf is up here is because she's able to fundamentally change the game just because of her skill. She's able to give an enemy a new weakness, and because of that, she's going to be able to make it so that, my team comp doesn't have like this element. That's okay, because I can use Silverwolf to just give them a weakness for my team comp. And I think as the game progresses, we're going to start seeing, we could see possibly monotype teams with Silverwolf. It might even be happening already, but I haven't looked too much into it. But we can definitely see monotype teams with Silverwolf, where she'll have a pretty strong chance to give the enemy a weakness of the team's element, which could be so huge, because then you can just get a lot of weakness break off, and she'll end up performing really well with that. And not only that, she also does a lot of debuffing. So being able to have multiple debuffs active at once, because a lot of other Nihility characters and just characters that have debuffs, it's like, oh, they just lower defense, or like, he just lowers speed. But for Silverwolf, she can have attack debuff, defense debuff, and speed debuff all active at the same time, which is absolutely insane. So she is, I think she's going to remain good for a long time. And, I doubt they're going to make a character that can also affect like enemy weakness types the same way that she does, because it's just so intrinsic to the type of character she is. So yeah, I think Silverwolf once again is sitting very comfortably at number 3. I feel like I don't see a lot of this list changing for a while. I think the unit most prone to change that we've talked about so far is Gepard. But we'll see how releases go for sure. But yeah, Silverwolf, extremely powerful debuffer there, and then also just being able to make any team comp work anywhere. Then at number 2, we have Bronya. Now, at the game's release, after I got my bearings and learned what a lot of the characters did, I did think for a while that Bronya was the best character in Honkai Star Rail. She has an amazing support skill, which will advance the action of any ally, plus it has Cleanse to get rid of any debuffs, and it also increases the ally's damage, which is really huge, because she's able to propel these hunt path DPSs to whole new levels, like Seele, who's already a top 5 character. Then you have some of the other really good hunt DPSs like Yang Jing, you have Su Shang, if you're even running a Dan Heng, they all get really boosted by Bronya on that kind of like team build, that like hyper carry kind of team build. And even if you're not running that kind of team build, boosting damage is, and being able to cleanse is such a powerful like ability to have, that you're really just going to get a lot of benefit from Bronya, regardless of the comp that you run her on. As long as you have, your character that's focused on damage, because it could even be an erudition character, right? Like multi-target. And I've tried using Bronya with a Serval. I used her with Jing Yuan during the 1.2 story, and it was still very powerful to have on those characters as well. So having her with any damage dealer, which I mean every team's going to have a damage dealer, I think in most, if not every team comp, she's going to be extremely valuable. So Bronya is definitely sitting comfortably at number 2, and I think it's going to take a lot for her to fall down even more. But sitting extremely comfortably, in my opinion, at number 1, the only character that has been able to dethrone Bronya so far as the best is Luocha. Now, I feel like some people might have seen this coming, just based on how I've been ranking the list, but Luocha has really just like taken me by surprise, because when I first saw his kit, I was like, he's definitely going to be good. He's going to be a good healer and everything like that, which is great. But after seeing him in action, playing through some of the trial runs that the game has given us for Luocha, and then using a friend of mine's Luocha, who is pretty well built, Luocha is insane. His healing goes way beyond Bailu and Natasha, and then I'm assuming it'll also be way beyond Lynx as well, since Lynx will be a 4-star. And not only is his healing just by raw numbers better, he has cleanse similar to Natasha, and then he also has passive healing in the form of his skill being able to trigger every 2 turns without a skill point, as well as his Abyss Field, which will trigger once he uses 2 healing-based attacks. I think it's either his skill or his ultimate that it activates on. And that by itself is so huge, because having the best healer in the game on any team will make you be able to survive a lot. And I know it's like kind of similar explanations for like Luocha and Gepard, even though Luocha's number 1 and Gepard's number 5. But I think that the passive healing and not having to always worry about like, oh, I need to use a skill point to heal my character is absolutely insane. And also with Luocha, the fact that his healing scales off his attack means that he can still do some damage, because like healers, if you occasionally have to do damage with them to either get a skill point back or like you don't need to heal anyone that turn, they're not really going to do too much. But because Luocha's healing scales off his attack, you're going to have a pretty decent attack set, probably around like 2k or so. So having that as well to just get a little bit more damage off is also going to be really nice. But yeah, realistically for Luocha really shows what I base the list on. Just the fact of providing the most value in the most situations. And I think being the best healer in the game and having, all these passive healing, active healing, his healing scaling being way better than the other healers in the game so far, that just gives him value everywhere, no matter what kind of content you're doing. And every person I've talked to that has Luocha, they are so happy they pulled him. And I can definitely tell why from all the things he's doing. So yeah, that is my top 5. To summarize it, we have Gepard at number 5, best tank in the game. Number 4, we have Seele, the best DPS in the game, at least for single target. Then number 3, we have Silverwolf, who is the best debuffer in the game. Number 2, we have Bronya, who is the best Harmony support in the game. And then number 1, we have Luocha, the best healer in the game. Let me know what you think in the comments of my list. I'm definitely interested to hear what you all think. I know there's a lot of characters that, outside of even the honorable mentions I said, that could be considered for the list for sure. There really only are like a handful of characters that are like, yeah, absolutely not even like top 10 or anything like that. But with that, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed, definitely be sure to hit that like button, sub to the channel, all that fun stuff. And I will see you all next time.